it together. As we initiate chaos theory guarantees that we'll play like lightning shots, sounding like thunder. For every time in the face that it hits us, we're faster. Well, they should know by now. They see the world keeps trying to shake us. It only waits us. The pendulum swings. The pendulum swings. It's in a beautiful darkness. Napoleon another. It's full steam ahead. Full steam ahead. All about the Betty Express. Misdirected from the start. It's a runaway train. I come a freight train. I come a freight train. In a beautiful darkness, the Betty Express. In a beautiful
Well, welcome back, you guys. We might just squeak out a full day of trial watch or ish before the big old storms come through. So that'll be great. Excuse me. I do have the sentencing screen up. We are 30 minutes away, so I figured we would continue with the Chris Melton testimony. It's just very odd. I have not been this weirded out by testimony since, well, the Canero trial and the weird female friend that kind of looked like Dexter or Trinity from Dexter in a wig. The weird John Lithgow woman. So do not know, you guys. Do not know. But it will be interesting. So we are back. We are still at, let me check, 1.25 speed. I will say that his emotion for himself being much more than Tara is interesting and notable, just as a sort of side thing. But let's see how he does during the rest of the state's direct and then cross. Because I want to see how he reacts when he's challenged as well. And howdy, Denise and Tree 9T. Welcome, welcome.
To speak with law enforcement?
No, sir.
Okay. What was your mindset as far as, why you were continuing to be cooperative with the investigation?
I always believed that the truth would set me free. I had nothing to hide.
Now, isn't this the same man who, it's going to come out on cross, was so devastated by the loss of the love of his life that he went on a date with someone else 2 days after?
Mr. Melton, thank you very much. I don't have any other questions for you right now.
Cross-examination, Mr. Cruz.
Good morning, Mr. Melton. My name is Attorney Amai Cruz. I have the privilege and honor of representing Mr. Faust. And under the authority of this court, I'm going to ask you some questions, okay?
Certainly.
Okay. Why didn't you cry?
When?
Just now. Why didn't any tears fall out of your eyes?
They are falling out.
Okay. Well, let's talk.
I thought I was Tizamy, but that's a perfect question. He did actually have tears, or at least some wetness. Versus, when he was talking about Tara, but I thought I was inappropriately blunt with my questions when I noticed weird things.
What about January 19th? Would you agree that today you were much more emotional than you were on the day that you learned of Ms. Baker's death?
I was holding it together best I could.
So your borderline fiance is murdered and you were holding it together on the 19th, but 25 years later, you have emotion about it?
In that moment, when I'm finding this out.
Mr. Melton, that's a yes or no question.
Judge, the witness is allowed to answer Mr. Cruz's question.
That's correct.
This
When
is
this tragedy
cross.
occurred, and I'm taking this information in, I am telling myself inside, do not collapse in this moment. Hold it together. There are other people that are also relying on you. And I had to get through this.
Who? You were a single man who lived with his parents. Who was relying on you? Cletus, your coworker? Who? Your Beanie Babies? I mean, who was relying on you? I'm not trying to be a jackass, but you're 24. You weren't you weren't her fiancé. So who was relying on you? Like your Tamagotchi?
And that's where I'm at.
Who was relying on you during your initial interview with police?
Okay, well, there you go. Took the words right out of my mouth, Mr. Cruz.
The police, her family, her friends, anyone who loved her.
So the police were relying on you to hold it together during the interview.
If I'm not holding it together, I can't think things through.
Sure. Did you know that your DNA was found in Ms. Baker's anus?
I was informed.
Who told you that?
Liz and Jeremy from the GBI.
When did they tell you that? Because in the recorded interview that we have, they didn't mention that to you.
That's my recollection.
My question is when? When did they tell you?
If that's not the correct recollection, I'm not sure at this moment.
Call me crazy, but if I say have been under the suspicion for red rum for let's say 20-ish years, and then all of a sudden the cops tell me that my DNA was found somewhere that we'd never been to, I think I'd remember that day. Like, I think I remember being in the office. I think I'd remember all of that.
Let me ask you this. When was the last time you met with the state?
This morning.
Okay. And they talked to you about your testimony?
We went over what the courtroom would be like.
Okay. So this is rehearsed. Is that fair to say?
I wouldn't say rehearsed.
But you went over it not just this morning. You went over it a couple of times last week. Is that right?
We have established a process in which would occur in this courtroom as far as steps that are taken once I get here and whatnot.
Okay. So the questions that you were asked today, you already knew you were going to be asked those questions, correct?
Yes.
Ooh, talk large Post-its to me.
No, I am going to.
Now, we already know my obsession with whiteboards and office supplies of any nature. So, the one way to get into my "you are my favoriteest lawyer," club is to have one of those big, white pads that you write on. Now, if he has legible handwriting, he might win.
Can I say something to this? Thank you, ma'am.
Say something to him having a whiteboard?
Mr. Melton, would you like a slim mark or a big mark?
Slim.
He's trying to quit.
All right.
He's
Let
on the
record
dot.
reflect that I am going to give you a black Sharpie, okay? I'd like you to write the very first time that you mentioned during your direct examination in regards to your actions or where you went on January 19, 2001. Do you understand that?
Yes.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
May.
Can you please write the first place you went on January 19th on that board there?
Ooh, let the Sharpie control you. Don't sniff it.
Your Honor, I would ask that if Mr. Cruz is going to ask the witness to engage in whatever this is, that be repositioned to a place where the jury can actually see it.
I can do that.
Whatever this is, you mean cross-examination?
Start on page 2.
We'd like to also be able to see it. I guess, Judge,
Oh,
do
for
you want
God's
us to move,
sake.
or do you
No, I
want
think-
him to move it over there?
Mr. Cruz, I think perhaps moving that back would be best for everyone to take a look at it. Thank you, Mr. Hill.
Sure.
Oh, for the love of Cheetos and Frito-Lays.
All right, sir. You may proceed.
Sure. Can you write the first place you went and the time that you went to that location?
Nunya and 669. Again, all the reasons I would get contempt of court.
Okay. So I want to make sure I'm correct. You wrote Nash Plumbing 7:30 to 7:45. Okay. So you remember from January 19, 2001, you went to Nash Plumbing between those times. Is that fair to say? Okay. But you could not remember when law enforcement asked you if you knew Ms. Baker was going to be alone in 2006? You can take a seat, Mr. Melton.
Along the way, I'm questioned about certain.
So this is interesting, and I wonder if this was a strategy to kind of have him go back and forth to see if his timeline deviates. This is something that you'll see in a lot of police interrogations. They'll kind of have you go on a timeline, and then out of the blue, they'll just say, "Oh, hey, when was the time that you went to the drive-through? I'm kind of confused," because they want to see if your story changes. Or I watch way too many police interrogations. One or the other. Or two things can be true at the same time.
things, and I pull up my best recollection. Post this, I've been traumatized. I'm grieving. My mind is certain things and certain times is hard to pull from. And in those moments, stress also, in times, it's more difficult than others in certain moments to recollect certain things. And that's, sir.
Let me catch up. So it's easier to recollect alibi than it is to recollect whether or not the girl that you love told you that she was going to be home alone.
All right. Well, Petty is in the house and I'm here for it. Although looks like we at least have the seal up, but we are going to continue to go with this. Now, what I will say is I get why he is fully petty, especially with all he knows and how he wants to defend his client. What I will say is what I say for every attorney is for every attorney. I do like Mr. Cruz, but I think that you have to be very careful with how you question this witness because he could be a very sympathetic witness. And coming in hot is fun for me. It's fun for a lot of us to see this guy kind of get asked tough questions for the first time in ever. But it might not have been too convincing to the jury.
This question is argumentative and improper.
Sustained.
Sure. So it's easy to remember where you went on the 19th. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Mr. Melton, so after you left Nash Plumbing, where did you go?
After I left Nash Plumbing, I went to the bank.
Okay. Can you write the time that you arrived at the bank on the board? You can just put bank and then you can put the time. Okay. Sure. So just ask you. So you can remember that you went to Nash Plumbing, and then after that, you can remember that you went to the bank from January 19, 2001.
That's correct.
But you cannot remember from January 18th whether or not Ms. Baker told you she was going to be alone.
At that time, it could depend on when the question's asked. It's not. If it's in a stressful moment, I'm going through things and trying to pull from times prior to this, when I'm not trying to, how should I say, lock in on certain things. Previous to this, it is difficult.
Would you agree?
Previous to the to her death.
Do what now? Now, I have heard many excuses. I have a youngest, most feral child. And as you all know, he was dead set to try to convince me that we have a robbler, his word for robber slash burglar, so robbler, who would break into our house and find Sharpie markers, write his name on things that were not Sharpie marker approved, right on materials, and then leave our house. And even that makes more sense.
Go ahead.
I didn't hear you. Say that one more time.
I should say, it's like certain days, if somebody asks you what you had for breakfast, I couldn't tell you. But if I'm concentrating on after certain times, yes, I can on certain things. But it's hard to describe.
So I'll switch gears. I do want to talk about a difficult subject with you. You mentioned that you were told that is that right?
Yes, there was a point in time.
There is no way to really segue to that subject delicately. Like, there is no Emily Post way to redirect from like, hey, can we talk about your dead girlfriend's anus? I mean, there really is no delicate segue for that.
I don't.
And we've agreed that that time didn't occur during your recorded interview. Is that right?
I can't recall.
Oh, crap.
That is fair. So let me ask you this, Mr. Melton. You would agree that Ms. Baker did not engage in anal sex with you. Is that correct?
That's correct.
You would agree that Ms. Baker was sexually assaulted anally. Is that correct?
I wouldn't really know if she was sexually assaulted anally. Like, I don't.
Well, we can't have it both ways, Mr. Melton.
I don't understand.
Previously stated that Ms. Baker, not Ms. Baker, I'm sorry, Ms. Bigham
I see.
and Jeremy Howell told you that your DNA was in her anus. Can we agree on that? Is that fair to say?
Maybe I'm mistaken on how I found that information out. Maybe
I'm going to object to lack of.
So we're heavy breathing and talking about anuses. I'm so glad I decided to be mildly tipsy today, because I'm how- where do I go with this? This trial was one travesty shit show from to another. Lord, I expect nothing but travesty with Corey Richins. I don't know what it is about the trials this year, but they either have like a really good side and a really bad side, or just absolute effery.
Personal knowledge. Mr. Cruz is asking this witness about information that was relayed to him as hearsay by other witnesses who had the actual information. So I think that's both lack of personal knowledge as well as calling for hearsay.
All right. Any response to the objection, Mr. Cruz?
Sure. Mr. Melton stated that he was aware that his DNA was found in Ms. Baker's anus. He stated that Ms. Bigham and Jeremy Howell were the individuals that told him. And we're fleshing out his knowledge in regards to what he's aware of, Your Honor.
Oh, phrasing. Could we not use the word fleshing? Could we not use the phrase fleshing out with the current subject matter? I am not mature enough.
I think as to the form of the question, I'm going to sustain the objection. You may rephrase if you choose to do so.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. But there should be no reason that your DNA should be in Ms. Baker's anus. Would you agree?
I mean, other than if we have had sex and it has transferred from there and say
No, okay, I don't know. All right, I'm gonna give y'all. I'm not bringing out a scrunchie because I'm not Dr. Crazy Pants, but this is a sphincter. Its entire job is to close tight. Okay, that's its entire job. The sphincter's entire job is to close tight. Now, you have other sphincters in your body, like the pyloric sphincter near your stomach and other places, but it's sealed shut. It has a job. It doesn't. Oh, why, dear God, someone protect me from this. Where is one of my? I needed an adult.
rain down to that area But
That is interesting that you say drain, because did you know that's the exact same thing the state is arguing in this case?
well, I mean, it makes sense though.
So your DNA is in her anus because it drained down in her anus. Is that your position?
I would say that would.
Again, Your Honor, lack of personal knowledge.
Also, okay, again, it was 10 days or 6 days since the last time they'd seen each other. So you're telling me she hadn't had a movement since then? That somehow there was a little DNA that just stayed there despite high fiber diets? Y'all, again, when you logic it out, it gets dumber.
Knowledge, lack of foundation. There's been no foundation laid that Mr. Melton's aware of these things. That would all be through GBI crime lab witnesses who do have personal knowledge and scientific information. And so there's no foundation for these questions, and he's asking for things that are outside of Mr. Melton's personal knowledge. He's asking about things.
I would object to a speaking objection, Your Honor, and just ask the state to state the ground.
Okay, I'm going to overrule that objection. He was just explaining his objection. I'm going to respond in the same way as the last objection. I'm going to sustain the objection as to the form of the question, allow you to rephrase if you choose to do so.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. Would you agree that in order for your DNA to drain into Ms. Baker's anus, you would have to have sex with her? Can we agree on that point?
Agree.
Okay. Did you have sex with Ms. Baker the day of her death?
No, sir.
The last time you saw Ms. Baker, was it 6 days before or 10 days before?
From the beginning, I've said I saw her the weekend prior.
From the beginning, you've said that?
Yes, sir.
That you've seen her the weekend, and that has always been what you said?
There was a time that I was confused, and it was 20 plus years later. And then I made a statement that I felt like maybe it was 10 days prior, and I was confused at that point because I have always said, from even meeting with the detectives from the beginning, that we were together that weekend. And then time had gone by, and I had even spoke out publicly for the first time.
Mr. Melton, to my question, is that a yes or a no?
He's in the middle of providing his answer. Again, the witness has a right to answer Mr. Cruz's questions in the manner that he believes the answer should be given.
It's non-responsive, Your Honor. And I would ask the state to stop the speaking objections because they are coaching the witness in the middle of his testimony.
Okay, I'm going to overrule that objection, and I'm going to sustain the state's objection. This witness is allowed to respond to your question. And if he's in the middle of responding, no one can interrupt. You may continue if you choose to do so.
Well, time had gone by, and then I had spoken publicly. At this point, I have stated over and over again that we were together the weekend before. And then there was a point in time that Tara's mother had stated that she was at her house.
I'm going to object to hearsay.
I am going to sustain that objection.
Your Honor,
The state's objecting to their
I don't want to
witness.
send the jury out, but I would like to approach to understand the parameters of which I could.
And I think, don't get me wrong, I like Attorney Cruz, but I think right now he's being a hammer, and I think that he could be a scalpel if that makes any sense. And I think he was kind of flying blind here. I think this is the first time maybe he's had this level of interference with a judge. But I think that with more experience, he is going to be a very formidable, even more so than he is now, litigator. But I do think that the way he maybe approaches things, there's just a tonal thing that if he could work on it just a little. And look, y'all, I'm not a lawyer, so it's not like I am super knowledgeable about that. But I will say he to me, and with my kind of optics, matching energies is okay, especially if you are a defense attorney. But when this witness hasn't really, at least objectively, shown to be contemptuous yet, him coming up with kind of these really hard questions does seem a little off kilter. But I understand his approach. I just think that with a couple more years, he'll really hone it to where he can ask these questions and maybe get some more out of witnesses. Yeah, I'll have to watch the rest of it. You're right. I just did want to see, because I know Nick was probably going to come on for sentencing, and I've been trying to speed watch what I can, and I knew we were probably not going to get to Chris, so I wanted to try to get to Chris at least, uh, to try to get to
Your
see how,
address, but your current
excuse me, how I felt about him.
your current residence, I won't say your address, but your current residence is the same residence that your parents stayed in 2001. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And at that time, you stayed in the basement. Is that correct?
At that time, I would have been on the second story.
Forgive me.
Bedroom.
I asked that question wrong. The week before Tara's death, you went to your parents' home. Is that correct?
That's correct.
During that time, you stayed in the basement. Is that right?
No, sir. I think it was in my old bedroom in the second story.
Court's indulgence, Your Honor.
I can't quite remember.
Mr. Melton, this isn't the first time you've been asked that question, is it?
I can't quite remember.
Okay. Do you recall on May 5th, 2024, being asked where you resided when you went to your parents' home the week before Ms. Baker's death?
I don't recall the question.
Say that one more time. You don't recall what now?
I don't recall.
Being asked that question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you recall making the statement? So I was working there and driving back and forth. Well, my parents, we had a furnished basement. So then that's where I was. Do you recall making that statement?
I don't recall making the statement, but it seems okay.
Judge, I move to introduce as defense exhibit number 32, Mr. Melton's May 5th, 2024 interview with Miss Elizabeth Bigham. Minute mark is 1442 through 1448. And before I introduce this, you do recall speaking with Miss Bigham, is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, and I would ask to play minute mark 1442 through 1448 into the record.
All right. Any objection from the state?
I don't think any of the foundation for proper admission has been laid. However, if this is that interview, the state would stipulate to the foundation for the admissibility.
Can you all confer about whether that's accurate since you're offering to stipulate?
Yeah, this is correct. Okay, yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
All right. You may proceed. And it is, are you asking to admit it, Mr. Cruz?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
That portion
Just that portion. Mr. Yalamanchili, are you objecting to what Mr. Cruz has just offered into evidence? That particular disc.
I don't have a transcript pulled up, Judge, but accepting Mr. Cruz's representation that what he's going to play is the answer that he just asked Mr. Melton about that he didn't recall, I don't have any objection.
All right. And it is at that minute mark that the defense has just articulated is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And you said that was what, Mr. Cruz? I'm sorry, 14.
1442
Thank you. Go ahead.
through 1448.
Okay.
And since we are getting close to 3, I do want to remind you guys that with sentencing will come victim impact statements. And while it might be hard for us to deal with sentencing. These are also the times for the friends and family to speak out, and they might not. It's their chance to speak out about what the loss that of Tara in their life has done for them. That I do wonder if all of the family are in agreement with this verdict, how everyone is feeling who has, waited for this. Not being from the area, I don't know. I will tell you that in Indiana with Delphi, it was very mixed.
Working there and got back forth. Well, my parents, that we have to do space them. So then that's where I was keeping in well, pretty much Jersey.
Okay, looks like we have No, we don't need your chat. So, in saying all that about sentencing, if you need to take a couple moments, to break, always think of your mental health. Uh, please do that. I will try to have breaks in there as well, but, um, regardless of how we feel justice was done or not done, there is real human suffering, of many people because of this case. Welcome, Tammy. We are, hopping over to sentencing. There will be, I believe, victim impact statements and things like that. So do be aware of your mental health, uh, and take breaks if you need to. There is no shame if this is not a stream that you can watch. Nick might be here or not. He didn't get in until later, so he has an invite. Yes, JKD Buck. I was not aware until I got up this morning, and actually double checked. So we will be covering the sentencing, um, but do be aware that there are going to be victim impact statements and things like that. So regardless of our feelings of how justice was served or not, um, protect your mental health. This one might be extra hard with, for those of you who have seen the entire trial already, how you think it went down and the verdict, but victim impact statements are never easy. Now, also in breaking news, apparently, Brennan Banfield attacked a prison guard. So he is being moved from the current facility he is being housed in. That will probably be on Mornings with Mo or weekly wrap up tomorrow because what in the cray cray? Yeah, I mean, we've had sentencings that were right after the trial or, right after the verdict, but this is fairly swift. I don't know if this is a Georgia thing or not. Oh, I guess we're not ready. But yeah, so Nick did message me and say he was planning on dropping by, but he also needed to take a bit of a nap and things like that.
All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are here for the sentencing portion regarding the state of Georgia versus Edric Faust, SU 24 CR 0547. The jury having returned a verdict of guilty on all counts in the indictment. Ladies and gentlemen in the audience, I want to take care of a few preliminary matters before we get started. The first is that no one in the audience, with the exception of media who have been granted a Rule 22 permission, can have their cell phones out and can have their cell phones out. So the first thing I want everybody to make sure is that if you have a cell phone and you are not the media who has been granted access, to put your cell phone away, please. And also, while you're doing that, to make sure that it is in the off position. I would appreciate everybody's cooperation on that. If there is anybody, of course, and I've mentioned this before during the course of all of our proceedings, if anyone does violate that portion of this court's order, having their cell phone out and certainly even using it, you will be escorted from the courtroom by the deputy and not allowed to return. The second thing I want to remind everyone, as I reminded everyone the other day who was here, is that this is a court of law, and certainly the court expects everyone to act accordingly. There will be no disruptions whatsoever, no outbursts of any kind, no yelling, no screaming, and no disruptions like that. If that does happen, I will stop the proceedings. The sheriff's department will escort that person or persons out of the courtroom. Everybody certainly was in full compliance the other day when the verdict was read, when I gave this same instruction. And I certainly appreciate everyone's abiding by that order very much, and I'd ask you certainly to do the same today. Is the state ready to proceed?
State's ready, Judge.
All right, Mr. Cruz, is the defense ready?
I have no other choice, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Faust, I'm going to address you now, sir. I want to tell you that, as you know, you have been convicted of all 12 charges as listed in the indictment by the jury returning the verdict. I want to tell you that you have the right to pursue an appeal. If you cannot afford an attorney, the court will appoint an attorney to represent you for an appeal. I want to make sure you understand that filing an appeal has time limitations. You have 30 days from the date of sentencing, which will be today, to file a notice of appeal. Filing a motion for new trial also falls under that category of 30 days after the conviction sentence is entered. You also have 4 years if you choose to file a habeas corpus petition. If you cannot afford an attorney to represent you, the court will appoint an attorney for you. I certainly know that you will speak with Mr. Cruz today and other days about your rights of appeal, but I wanted to make sure you understood them. Do you have any questions for the court about those things? Thank you, sir. All right, if the state is ready to proceed, you may do so, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. Judge, what the state would intend to do as it relates to our presentation of evidence concerned with sentencing is to begin by discussing the ranges and the counts on which Mr. Faust is to be sentenced from the state's understanding. At that point, Your Honor, I would tender in certain certified convictions in aggravation of punishment. Mr. Cruz has been provided copies of those. We would then offer 4 victim impact statements, Judge, from Miss Virginia Baker, Mr. Adam Baker, Miss Meredith Schroeder, and Mr. Kevin Baker. And after the victim impact statements, the state would make its recommendation to the court. As it relates to count one, malice murder, the sentence is mandated by law as of January 19th of 2001 would be a sentence of life imprisonment. Counts 2 through 5, the felony murder counts, as a matter of law, since Mr. Faust was found guilty of malice murder, would be vacated. Mr. Faust is thereafter still eligible to be sentenced for each of the felonies that underlied those felony murder counts. That would be the burglary, aggravated sodomy, 2 counts, and then the rape. As it relates to the sentencing range for burglary being count 6, that would be up to 20 years. Count 7, the aggravated sodomy as it existed on January 19th of 2001, the state's understanding of that is that that would be a serious violent felony subject to the provisions of 1710 6.1 at the time, which indicates that when an individual is convicted of a serious violent felony, if they are sentenced to anything other than a life sentence, they are not parole eligible for whatever that sentence is that is imposed by the court. And the range on aggravated sodomy at the time was 10 to 30 or life. As it relates to, and that would be the same for count 10, Your Honor. As it relates to count 8, the rape count, that would be 10 to 20 or life. As it relates to count 9, the aggravated assault, that would merge with count 1 for purposes of sentencing. We've already covered the range on count 10. Count 11 would be up to 20 years, and count 12, possession of a knife. I'm sorry, count 11 was the arson in the first degree. Count 12, the possession of knife during commission of a felony would be 5 years, Your Honor. And Judge, would the court like us to continuing numbering exhibits from the exhibit number in the trial, or to start with 1 for purposes of sentencing?
That's a great question. I think we should continue with the numbers that we've been going on. Do you have the last number that was entered?
I do not.
Okay. Okay. We can do that. Sure. I think that sounds fine. Ms. Satterfield really is in charge of all of those numbers. That's important for her. So we'll start again with 1. She thinks that would be best. So go ahead and label whatever document you have as States Exhibit 1, and then follow with any other exhibits you have in numerical order.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right.
And Your Honor, I've labeled for purposes of sentencing States Exhibits 1 through 6. Exhibit 1 is certified conviction from criminal action number 93 OR 36B, which was a sentence entered on an attempted robbery charge with a sentencing date, original sentencing date of June 7th of 1993. This document was for a first offender sentence. It was later adjudicated guilty. In States Exhibit 2 is 96 OR 165J.
Yes.
I would object to the state attempting to use prior convictions and aggravation of sentencing. If my recollection doesn't fail me, we didn't receive notice that the state intended to use Mr. Faust's prior record for sentencing either the last day of trial or the day before the last day of trial. The state provided us with documentation stating that they intended to use Mr. Faust's record of aggravation of sentencing. As the Honorable Court is aware, under OCGA Section 17-16-4, Section A5, the law states that the prosecuting attorney shall no later than 10 days prior to trial or at such time as the court orders, but in no event later than the beginning of the trial, provide the defendant with notice of any evidence in aggravation of punishment that the state intends to introduce in sentencing. And that is a shell statute. The state failed unless they could show something, because from what they gave me 2 days ago, 2 days before the end of trial or the last day of trial, that was my first time seeing those documents. But the state hasn't met the notice requirement to introduce evidence in aggravation of sentencing under that statute, Your Honor. So I would ask that if the state wants the Honorable Court to proceed with sentencing, that's fine, but I would ask the Honorable Court not to consider the state's evidence in aggravation because they failed to follow the proper procedure for admission of same. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. Any response, Mr. Yellow-Chile?
Yes, Your Honor. I don't have both of the dates in front of me, but the state provided its first notice of intent to use any convictions contained in Mr. Faust's criminal record in aggravation of punishment as part of its discovery certificate that was filed on, I believe, April 2nd of 2025. Subsequent to that, we provided a more specific notice that listed 3 convictions coming out of Clark County, and then we amended that notice with the second notice of intent to use prior convictions in aggravation for recidivism, which doesn't necessarily apply here for purposes of impeachment as well. But the original notice is from April 2nd of 2025.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I would ask the Honorable Court not to take Mr. Yalamachile's word for it. If the Honorable Court could review the record to make sure that it's accurate. I disagree with that position, but I may be mistaken. I would just ask the Honorable Court to confirm.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cruz. I actually have reviewed the record, and Mr. Yellow-Chile is correct. So I'm going to overrule your objection. I'm also holding in my hand the state's second notice of intent to use prior convictions in aggravation of sentencing, and that was filed on October the 2nd. So I have one of them actually in my hand, but I have reviewed the record, and Mr. Yellow-Chile is correct, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. You may proceed.
And Judge, so State's Exhibit 1 was a conviction for attempted robbery, Your Honor, with the date that I noted. State's Exhibit 2 is a certified conviction regarding possession of a firearm by a convicted felon and other offenses from 96 OR 165J, again, out of the Superior Court of Oglethorpe County. Then we come to the 4 Clark County convictions that the state intends to admit for aggravation. State's Exhibit 3 is SU 01CR0298. This was an aggravated assault committed on February 4th of 2001 involving cutting or another individual in the neck area, and the sentence date on that particular offense, I believe, was September 6th of 2001. Obviously, the offense date is within a couple of weeks of this murder. And then State's Exhibit 4 is SU 11CR0744. This is a certified conviction, again, for Mr. Faust for a felony. And it is a conviction for possession of cocaine as well as driving while license suspended and misdemeanor obstruction of a law enforcement officer. State's Exhibit 5 is another certified conviction. This is SU 13CR0203 out of the Superior Court of Clark County. And this is a conviction for possession of cocaine with intent to distribute, as well as misdemeanor obstruction of a law enforcement officer. And Your Honor, the sentence date on this particular case is November 6th of 2013. And then State's Exhibit 6 is SU 14CR0774. And it's for a felony driving while license suspended, Your Honor. The conviction date of this case will be November 26th of 2014.
Yes, sir.
I just pulled up the notice that the Honorable Court mentioned from October. It only mentions 3 offenses. That's the aggravated assault. That's the VGCSA, 2 counts. I don't just wanted to let the Honorable Court know.
That was the only one I had in my hand, but I have reviewed the record.
I just want to make sure.
There's an amended notice as well, Mr. Cruz, but the one that I was referring to is the one I have in my hand.
Correct. The amended notice, I only received that 2 days before the end of trial, Your Honor. So we're asking that those convictions not be considered. The 3 that's in the notice filed in October, obviously that meets the statutory timelines. The ones that they gave me 2 days before the verdict came down, that does not meet the statutory timeline, Your Honor. So I'd ask the Honorable Court to reconsider its ruling.
Thank you, sir. Any response to the objection again, Mr. Yelmichilli?
Well, again, Your Honor, if we go back to, and I believe it's April 2nd of 2025, but the court has the record in front of it. As part of the state's discovery certificate, we provided notice of both impeachment, aggravation, and I believe also recidivism for any convictions that were contained in Mr. Faust's criminal history. There's no, to my knowledge, no subsequent requirement of the state to make a more specific notice, but we chose to do so.
Yes, sir.
The law requires a specific notice. So there is a requirement for that, Your Honor.
I'm not sure that's correct, Mr. Cruz, and I'm going to overrule your objection and allow the state to continue.
All right. And so, Your Honor, if I could approach, I have states
You may.
1 through 6.
I would encourage y'all to have an emotional support beverage.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, we'd ask the court to hear victim impact statements, beginning first with Miss Virginia Baker.
Do be kind to yourselves, your mental health. You know, regardless of how you feel about however justice was done or not, these people are victims and have lost someone they love.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
I am Tara's mother. I will always be Tara's mother. And I'm afraid my emotions are about worn out after these 25 years of pain. And so if it is okay, I have asked my son-in-law to read my statement for me, if that would be all right.
Yes, ma'am. That is certainly all right. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor, members of the court. There are no words to fully express the horror of what this monster did to my daughter, Tara. For weeks, I have sat in this courtroom, forced to look at evil, to hear details I never wanted to know. I have endured it only for her sake. January 19, 2001 was the collision of pure good and incomprehensible evil. Over these 25 years, the truth has emerged slowly, each new piece more terrible than the last. The question that never leaves me is why? I have asked God this question thousands of times. I still have no complete answer, and the pain remains. As a mother, I cannot bear the image of Tara dying alone, frightened, calling for help that never came. Night after night, I dream of carrying her burned and broken body, walking endless roads, trying desperately to find someone who could help, someone who could bring her back. I have begged God to trade my life for hers. She is gone. The emptiness she left is vast and unending. Tara was intelligent, kind, dutiful, and loving. She worked hard toward her dream of becoming a lawyer so she could help others. Yet she never lost her generosity or her caring nature. Her life was full of promise and light. The person who took her lived in complete opposition to everything she stood for. His actions were selfish, depraved, without compassion or regard for the lives he destroyed. He did not only end her life and her dreams, he tried to erase her completely by setting the fire. Our family had never known violent crime before that day. Her absence still wounds her siblings, her friends, and all who loved her. The pain is constant, even in moments that should be joyful. I will never forget sitting beside her closed casket, praying it was all a mistake, that we would open it and find it empty. Though I begged to open the casket to see my sweet girl one last time, my husband and the funeral director protected me from seeing the devastation that Edric Faust had caused. The impossible hope that somehow she was not in that casket was the last thread I clung to before accepting she was truly gone. After 25 years of living in the shadow of this loss, praying, waiting, and enduring, the final chapter has been written today. As the district attorney reminded us, it was the jury's solemn duty to hold the pen and write the correct ending to this tragic story. They have done so, bringing accountability at last and allowing light to pierce the darkness that has shadowed our family for so long. Tara's beautiful soul is now safe with our Lord. Her short life was filled with love, and that love endures in every heart she touched. I thank God for the grace that has carried me this far. I thank him for my remaining children, Tara's siblings, and I thank him for my grandchildren. We all thank him for the legacy of light that Tara left behind. Tara was and always will be deeply loved. Such a beautiful life, so full of promise. Thank you for your time, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Cruz, anything from the defense with regard to this victim witness?
No, ma'am.
All right. Mr. Yalamanchili, you may call your next witness.
Your Honor, the state would call Adam Baker.
On January 19th, 2001, my beloved sister, Tara Baker, was stabbed, beaten, strangled, raped, and finally set on fire. That horrific act was not where the tragedy ended. That is where it began. Tara was an extraordinary human being, beautiful, compassionate, driven, and hilariously funny. She was the best of us. I have never known anyone with a purer heart. Tara and I were more than siblings. We were best friends. From the day I was born until the day Edric Faust ripped her from us, we were inseparable. She cheered me on at every step. My decision to join the Air Force, my dreams of flying, it was her dream for me to become a pilot. I remember how she beamed with pride after I joined the Air Force. I remember coming home on leave and her giving me the biggest hug. We talked so much about my training and what things were like. I also remember the moment she saw my dog tags and truly understood what they meant. She grew quiet. She cried. It was the first time she ever considered that my life could be cut short. Neither of us ever imagined it could have been the other way around. Being far from home meant I was alone when I learned of her death. My father was desperately trying to contact a military chaplain to sit with me when the news came, but I called him first. The cries of anguish I made during that call haunted him until the day he died. I still have nightmares in which our roles are reversed and I am the one making that call, hearing the pain, unable to hug my son or comfort him. I remember the fog of arranging a flight back to Georgia, the long journey home, watching people board planes and go about their day oblivious. The flight attendants offered pretzels or cookies. All I could think was, I want my sister back. The entire flight, I dreaded one moment above all, seeing my mother. When I finally reached my parents' house and I saw her face, the anguish there was something no one should ever have to witness on their own mother. In hysterical grief, she held me for what felt like days, weeping and wailing. That evening, through her tears, she begged me to achieve my dreams because Tara could no longer achieve hers. Our focus is only Tara could have inspired me to do. I made every rank as early as military regulations allowed. Eventually, I was accepted to officer training school. My family attended my graduation. Tara was not there. I went on to flight school and earned my wings. At graduation, my family proudly pinned those wings on my chest, but Tara was not there. I met an amazing woman whom Tara would have adored. We married. At the wedding, we took family photos of the whole Baker family. Tara was not in them. Every Christmas, every family gathering, every milestone, Tara was absent. She never got to be a sister to my wife. She never held my infant daughter beaming with pride as an aunt. She never cradled my twins when they were born. My oldest child has had to learn of her Aunt Tara through photographs and stories. She favors her. I mourn not only Tara, but everything that was stolen from us. Tara would have turned 49 last month. I have no doubt she would have pursued her dreams, achieved her goals. She would have married and had children. My beautiful nieces and nephews that I never got to meet. My mother's precious grandbabies, who now would be old enough to chase their own dreams and start their own families. An entire branch of our family tree was severed irreparably on that one day to satisfy one man's depravity. The last 25 years should have been full of life, laughter, and generations. But the pain doesn't end here today. Despite this verdict, the pain will continue. This summer, I will retire from the career that Tara inspired me to pursue. My family will fly out. We will celebrate. There will be pictures. Tara won't be in them. She won't be there. Tara's children won't be there. Tara's grandchildren won't be there. In fact, our dad, who died at the age of 59, due to the stress and grief of losing a child, will not be there. And he is but one of a list of family members who I am certain would still be alive today had it not been for the stress, grief, depression, and utter devastation caused 25 years ago. For many years, I wrestled with God over what happened. That struggle eventually and ultimately led me to a place of forgiveness. Long before I ever heard the name Edric Faust, I chose to forgive him. Today, sitting in this courtroom face to face, I can honestly say, I have forgiven you. I harbor no hate in my heart. I've given that all to God. You will stand before him one day. I pray that before then, you will confess, you will repent, and you will seek for the forgiveness of Christ. He will grant it. Until then, I need nothing from you except this one thing, that you never hurt anyone else again. Your Honor, I leave that responsibility to the judicial system. Please ensure that Mr. Faust never has the opportunity to harm another person. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Cruz, anything from the defense?
In regards to this witness, no, ma'am.
All right. Call your name, witness, General Shelley.
Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
In these last few weeks, we, Tara's family and friends, and all who loved her, were forced to relive this nightmare, to face the darkest time of our lives once more, to face things that we have avoided for 25 years. We sat and watched in horror the sight of her lifeless body, discarded like trash amongst the debris. We sat here in this courthouse and watched Tara be victimized once more. Watched social media legal pundits co-opt our family photos as their own and opine on who they thought Tara was. I've watched as people came to spectate, like a morbid kid poking at her and us like dead animals on the side of the road. For all those interested parties, I will tell you who Tara was. She was our North Star, our champion. She was kind. She was determined. She wasn't perfect, but she was close to it. She spent her short life lifting people up and wanted to dedicate her life to making people happy. Happy law was her dream, and she had carved out her path to achieve it, and no one hated her. On January 19th, 2001, Tara woke and began her day like any other. While that day will remain the darkest of our lives, it was nothing compared to what Tara endured. I cannot imagine the fear and anger she felt, how she fought, telling herself this was not happening. While Tara was our everything, it wasn't enough for Faust. For the last 25 years, he has wreaked havoc on this community. Just 2 weeks after he ended Tara's life, he put a knife into a man's neck. He shattered another man's jaw over a parking space outside the 40-watt. He savagely beat his wife on a cruise and then later pistol whipped her with her own gun. While we have sat here trying to maintain our composure, I've watched the defendant sleep through proceedings. I'm terribly sorry to have inconvenienced him, but you see, while he got to walk free for the last 25 years, He dealt Tara and all of us a life sentence. He stole from her, he stole from me, he stole from my children, and he stole from all of us. None of us are the same people who woke up on January 19th, 2001. Every day for the last 25 years, I have literally thought about my sister. I've wondered if her wild and tacky sister would have made her proud. I've mourned the friendship that we were building outside of sister. I've mourned the tone-deaf car karaoke sessions and the Friday night rom-coms. I've mourned the life lessons that she tried to teach me, but my dumb teenage brain couldn't understand. The guilt that I feel that I've lived an entire life that was denied her cannot be measured. I have prayed that I've been strong enough for her, that I've fought enough for her. I've prayed these last few weeks that I've done right by her. Today I stand here channeling her strength to face the man convicted by a jury of his peers to this nightmare, to let him know that after today, I will endeavor to forget his face and his name, to never allow him to cross my thoughts again. After today, I will live my life remembering how Tara lived. My final request is that this honorable court ensure that he is put somewhere where he finally ends his reign of mayhem. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything from the defense, Mr. Cruz?
Only to make two corrections, Your Honor. In regards to pistol whipping his wife, that is nothing that occurred or was evidence in this case.
I'll let you say that when it's your turn, but in terms of any questions you have for the
No,
witness.
absolutely
All right.
not.
Thank you, sir. You may call your next witness.
Kevin Baker.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
Of course, indulgence as I get my paperwork here. It's maybe one of the most difficult things I've ever had to do. Your Honor, my name is Kevin Baker. I'm Tara's youngest brother, who she affectionately called her baby darling. There's a 12-year age gap between the two of us, so I wouldn't see her as much as a big sister as I would see her as a motherly figure. Over the past several days, I have sat in this room and listened to people argue over semantics while thinking that my Tara, beloved sister, cuddle buddy and protector is gone. We're arguing over a Super Bowl and a World Series. Well, I can't tell you who won that game, but I can tell you every detail that happened that day. My earliest memories of Tara and I were singing Beatles songs and Elvis songs and having a dance party in the living room. We watched old movies like Wizard of Oz and the Braves game on TV as we would cheer on her boys to victory. I even told her as a young boy I was going to play baseball and I was going to be just like Chipper Jones, who she adored so much. She would sit there as I would tell her that, and she would smile and say, "You could do whatever you wanted to do as long as you put enough effort into it." To help me sleep, she would tell me Bible stories and hold me close when I was scared of the dark or when things would go bump in the night. Everywhere Tara lived, she invited me to stay at her house. From her dorm at Georgia College to the 80 Pie house, I was always welcome, where most college girls would think having a 9 or 10-year-old little brother following them around a college campus would be annoying and maybe even a bit embarrassing. But she saw it as an opportunity to connect and show me how doing well in school can benefit you. I remember the last time I saw her. It was towards the end of Christmas holiday. Adam was home, and she thought how great it would be to have a siblings' day out. She took us out, myself, Adam, and Meredith, to Chick-fil-A for lunch. We laughed, we carried on, and had a great time as a family. It was probably my last true happy memory as a child. She said goodbye to me in the driveway. She bent down on one knee and gave me the warmest hug and a white turtleneck sweater and a brown leather jacket and a kiss on the cheek. She told me to do my best in school as a new school year would be starting. In a few weeks, she would be back to visit with just me. She planned to come home and visit with me and go to my baseball game. I started that next school year with just the focus on school and sports. Then came Friday, January 19th, 2001. I was taken out of school Oblivious to what was happening at the time, my parents were in a panic and dropped me off at my grandparents', who would soon drive me up to Athens. But before we made our way to Athens, I asked my grandparents if it would be okay to get something to give to Tara as a gift. My grandparents, already knowing what was happening in the situation, couldn't bear to be the ones to give me the news. So they took me to a Hobby Lobby. I got a dolphin figurine and I made it for her, not knowing that she would never receive it. I arrived at the Hobby.
This breaks my heart because this seems like this would be something my middle son would do. And that's the thing. How many more people are affected because they didn't do a good job, because they didn't do a good investigation, and now we're left wondering, was justice actually served instead of knowing it was served?
Holiday Inn right down the road from here. As a child of only 11, I was given the news by my late father that there was a fire at Tara's house. My immediate response was, is she in the hospital? Tell me she's okay. My dad stood there, choking back tears, saying, no, buddy, she didn't make it. She's gone. At that moment, my childhood innocence was destroyed. It would be shadowed by grief and running around this college campus with flyers asking who killed my sister, asking questions, not knowing anything other than she was gone. Learning words that no elementary school kid should ever have to learn or know happened to his big sister. Words such as rape, stabbing, arson, and murder. Kids at school would say, we're sorry for your loss. I was only thinking to myself, I didn't lose her. She was stolen from me. Where most kids would come home to a warm house full of happiness, I came home to a house, despite my parents' best efforts to create the best environment possible. It felt more like a mausoleum than a warm home. Unlike my siblings, I went through the majority of my life, from childhood, teenage, and adult phases, without Tara. Unable to ask her, am I doing okay? Is this what I should be doing in school or in life? Would you be proud of the man your baby brother has become? I strived to be just like her throughout my childhood. When I received awards, graduated high school, and graduated college, Tara was not there. When my father died, which this murder took years off of his life due to stress, instead of Tara holding me while giving me the news of my father's passing, I fell to my knees in a hospital parking lot at midnight alone to collect myself and be strong for my mother, who was already in the ER room waiting for me to arrive. I found love and married, and instead of a family being in the front row, I had 2 empty chairs with 2 white roses for both my father and Tara, who would have been there if the situations had been different. As this trial goes on, I have read and seen the absolute best and the absolute worst of people in both this courtroom and outside who seek to turn a sensitive matter into a circus of calamity and pandemonium for their own entertainment, for likes on their social media pages, all the while seeing how this trial has opened up old wounds and exposed horrible memories. I have heard how this man is sitting here fighting for his life. Well, it makes me think about something about that morning. Did Tara have a chance to fight for her life? Who was there at the moment when she needed someone the most? No one, because she was scared and she died alone. Your Honor, I've listened to details for the first time that I've never been told about this case, not because the case was not thoroughly investigated, but because of the horrific and gruesome facts that my family tried to shield from me due to the age at the time. Your Honor, when that verdict was read, the person that's sitting here in that pew that day is not the 36-year-old man that stands before you right now. It was that 11-year-old boy who brought back all that pain and loneliness of being in that hotel room knowing that his sister had just been killed. As a father of a young girl, I dread for the day that I will have to give the tale to my daughter of her Aunt Tara, not for being the loving aunt who would have loved her so much or strived for greatness, but as a cautionary story of safety, because someone thought that they could play God and decide who should live and who doesn't. I've taken my grief and I've used it as a career to help others during their time of loss and guide them through their grieving process. It gives me peace to know that none of these families that I will undoubtedly have to help in the future will not be caused by this man's reign of terror in this community. I pray that there will not be another family in this community that will have to deal with the same pain and sorrow and cruelty that we have had to deal with over these past 25 years. This is not the final chapter of Tara's story, because once this case is concluded and her story will live on in everyone who ever knew her and everyone who ever loved her, despite this man's best efforts to destroy her legacy and destroy her body, she will endure in our hearts forever. For those who are in this courtroom or maybe watching at home, I ask you this: will you remember her? Because she would remember you. Thank you, Your Honor, for your time.
Thank you. Anything from the defense, Mr. Cruz, of this witness?
No, ma'am.
All right, thank you. You may call your next witness.
Your Honor, we don't have any other witnesses. We're ready to make our recommendation at this time.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. I cannot offer anything more important or more impactful than what Tara's family has already said, and I will not try. The court has heard the evidence in this case and all its brutality and depravity. It's horrific, even in the context of other murder cases. The state's recommendation in this case is as follows. On count 1, a sentence of life imprisonment. On counts 2 through 5, vacated. Count 7 would be 30 years confinement concurrent with count 1. Count 8 would be life consecutive to count 1. Count 9 would merge with count 1. Count 10 would be 30 years consecutive to counts 1 and 7 while being concurrent with count 8. Count 6 would be 20 years consecutive to counts 8 and 10. Count 11 would be 20 years consecutive to count 6. And count 12 would be 5 years consecutive to count 11. The total sentence would be 2 consecutive life sentences plus 45 years of confinement with 60 years of non-parolable concurrent confinement with those 2 life sentences. That's the state's recommendation, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Yeoman, you went through that very quickly, so I'm actually going to ask you to go through it slowly so I take down what you say, and I will do the same, of course, for Mr. Cruz. If you'll do it a little bit slower for the court, I want to make sure I know what you are asking for, and then I'll do the same for Mr. Cruz.
Yes, Judge.
Start with count 1.
I will. And just for an overall, again, in total, we're getting to 2 consecutive life sentences plus 45 years of confinement with 60 years of non-parolable confinement concurrent with those 2 life sentences. And the way that we structured that was in count 1, life. Counts 2 through 5, vacated. Count 7, 30 years concurrent with count 1. Count 8
Fastly.
is life consecutive to count 1. Count 9, the aggravated assault, merges with count 1. Count 10 would be 30 years consecutive to counts 1 and 7 and concurrent with count 8. Count 6 would be 20 years consecutive to counts 8 and 10. Count 11 would be 20 years consecutive to count 6. And count 12 would be 5 years consecutive to count 11.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else from the state?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Mr. Cruz.
Would you like us to start with mitigation before we get into sentencing?
Yes, certainly you can. If you are presenting witnesses, this would be the time to do so.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I had a lot of inquiries, if I may. If you're here to testify on Mr. Faust's behalf, can you raise your hand for me? All right, you guys come up to the front real quick.
Oh, this could go very wrongly. We didn't get randos to speak on his behalf, did we? I'm sure we won't.
Mr.
What
Carroll,
in-
can you help with the podium here? And then maybe we'll put a microphone, put it in between the tables.
What in the potentially criminal is going on here? Did Sean get a front row ticket to this? I do not dress up as a bailiff. I was going to say I need to dress up as a bailiff. This is not life advice. Do not do that. Bad idea. Take nothing I say seriously.
That would be very helpful. Thank you.
Oh, good night, nurse. Please don't let this be a random someone. I can see this.
And the first witness that we have is Miss Kinsey Faust.
Oh, okay.
Good afternoon. How you doing?
Good afternoon.
My name is Kinsey Faust, and I'm speaking on behalf of my cousin, brother, Edric Lamont Faust. And the picture that being painted as a monster, he's no monster. He's a human being. He has family that loves him and care for him. With all this, I want justice to be served, and just to be served the correct and right way. And all has been said and presented throughout the court system. I've been here day one, ever since Mr. Faust got arrested back in 2023, whenever it was. Like I say to this day, I want the Baker family to get justice. And I feel that justice was not served. And I feel that they're painting a picture of Mr. Faust like he's a monster. He's no monster. He has family, grandkids, kids, and all. And he has lost people also. My father, which is his uncle, which helped raise him. And I know my father raised me, and my father did not raise no animal, nor monster. And I ask you, Lisa, today, as you get ready to sentence Mr. Faust, to really look at the justice and the way things should be laid out. Because Mr. Faust, my cousin, I love him. My brother, we raised in the same house, like I keep saying. He's no monster. He's a human being. And things that happen to Tara, I am a female too. And I hate all of that. But I would like for justice to be served, and to be served the correct and right way.
Thank you. Ms. Gielman-Chile, anything from the state?
I don't have any questions, Your Honor.
You might call your next witness.
Next, we have Mr. Bryson Shields.
How you doing, Miss Lisa Lott?
Good afternoon.
Okay.
I used to walk hard with
Now, this might be a cultural thing. This might be calling the judge out of her name. And again, also not dressing up for court. I wish Mr. Cruz had maybe talked to these witnesses and told them that, the time to appeal this or things like that, because I do think that it could be viewed as very, very tone deaf. Um, and for him to get a successful appeal, you need to have a lot of public support. And I don't know that this I can understand their irritation and their upsetness. And I know it's what we feel in chat, what all of that is not even a patch on what they're feeling. But appeals and this kind of thing are a chess game, and you have to be mindful of public appearance, and there are times and places to bring this up, but I think calling the judge by her name, not calling her Your Honor, um, things like that, and kind of trying to relitigate the case at this time, it just isn't the right time or place, and I think it it could be viewed as not favorable, in my opinion.
You'll pull that microphone
I'm
out.
sorry. I used to walk cars with you, and like, and last witness, he's not no monster, man. And I'm sorry for what happened, but
It
justice one serve here, so that's all.
Thank you.
Oh,
Mr. Yelmichilli, anything from the state?
No, Your Honor.
You may call your next witness, Mr. Cruz.
And I'd like to make a statement for on behalf of Mr. Faust. I know it's unique for the attorney to do so.
Go ahead, sir.
But Your Honor, you're aware that obviously our system is a system of laws, and once the jury renders a verdict, regardless if we agree with it or disagree.
this should have been the only statement. I get what his family members and friends were trying to do, but there is a way to do this respectfully, and I think that will look good on a record and make for an easier appeal. Um, and maybe don't call the judge by their first name. But my guess is they were under the impression that they weren't going to get a fair sentencing either. So I understand, but time and place really matters, especially if you're looking at, needing to fundraise or crowdsource for an appeal. I'm not saying be fake. I'm not saying be disingenuous at all. But there are times and places for certain speeches.
Agree with it. That's the law we follow. That's the procedure we follow. I would ask the Honorable Court to consider in its sentencing, and we know what the mandatory sentencing is in this case, but we would ask the Honorable Court to consider things that took place in this case. As the Honorable Court is aware, and obviously we don't relitigate issues, Mr. Faust didn't have opportunity to explain his DNA. Mr. Faust didn't have opportunity to argue consent. There were things, and throughout this trial, I spoke the truth this entire trial. Not one time did a dishonest statement come out of my mouth. But as I advised the Honorable Court, I've reviewed every piece of discovery in this case. And this case is a true tragedy. The very first time I stepped in this courtroom, Your Honor, I said in order to get justice for my client, I would have to get it for the Baker family. And obviously I failed at that. The jury decided otherwise. But Your Honor, I presented the evidence that I could present to the Honorable Court, to the jury as well. I am aware of the mandatory sentencing schemes, but I do know the Honorable Court at the end of this and upon sentencing typically gives its own proffer or statement to the defendant in regards to the Honorable Court's thoughts and the reason it's given the sentence that it is giving. I would ask the Honorable Court if it would consider this is a case of very unique circumstances. And obviously, the evidence that we presented again to jury as the finder of fact.
Now wait, is he being charged under the sentencing statutes that were there for 2001, or is he being sentenced under current sentencing guidelines? since this is a cold case, would he be sentenced under, doggone it, Nick, I wish he didn't need a nap. I wonder if I can ask ChatGPT. Let me just think of how to ask that to ChatGPT, because I can ask it to Nick, but for some reason I can't seem to talk to ChatGPT like a normal human. It confuses me.
Found that our theory was not the truth. But I would just ask the honorable court, when it renders its sentence, to give the lesser on the lesser end, even though it's mandatory, but also in regards to the honorable court statements to the defendant or Mr. Faust, which will come. I just asked the honorable court to keep everything in mind, because your honor is aware of a lot more than I was able to present to the jury. And that's all I like to say to the honorable court. To the Baker family, this is a heartbreaking case. And as an advocate in this case, no one, the state and I would disagree completely, but no one would ever say that this wasn't a tragedy. And I give my heartfelt, I mean my heartfelt from the bottom of my heart, my heart goes out to you all and what you've been through. But your honor, I just ask you to consider that when it comes to your statement to Mr. Faust at the time of sentencing. Thank you.
Yes, yes. So much better. First two witnesses. Mr. Cruz, these are things that I think as a lawyer you'll get better at, but and to be fair, maybe this is your first really, really big trial. So I'm not trying to be a butt monkey. Look, you don't see my behind doing trial stuff. But that being said, yes, you talk. You're very good. You're very respectful. You're very cognizant of the fact that this is neither the time nor place, but you respectfully and genuinely empathize. And I think the other two witnesses tried to do that, but maybe tonally it didn't come across, at least to me, as genuine as that moment right there was.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. Do you have any specifics with regard to counts 1 through 12 you'd like for the court to consider?
I do. My other two witnesses just arrived, your honor.
All right, you may present your witnesses, sir.
Hey,
Oh, for the love of Cheetos. Not you, sweetie. Y'all know you're going to court. Look, I'm not trying to be I'm not trying to be, again, like I said, a booger monkey or anything. I'm really not trying to be elitist, but show up to court on time. Don't wear things that are holy or super casual, even if you don't have a lot of money, what you would wear to church. I don't know. It's just one of my pet peeves.
name's Katrina Faust.
Good afternoon.
Edward Faust isn't a monster. He is a very lovely, funny, and hardworking person. Edward will always be my cousin, my brother.
Thank you, Sticky Widget.
Him. I pray to God to give him strength every day and to keep his mind together. And his family will keep fighting for justice for him. Edward Faust isn't the killer. He was accused as the killer, but he isn't the killer. And he also have a family that love him. And we're going to keep fighting for justice for him as long as it takes. And I'm sorry for the Baker family. And I'm sorry for my family had to keep grieving over this. Because it's been very hard for the Faust family too.
Thank you. Anything from the state, Mr. Yelmichilli?
He was convicted. So this was a cold case that happened in 2001 involving a young law student named Tara Baker. She was found in the early morning, mid-morning, with her house on fire. She had been assaulted and then a burning blanket put on top of her. So her house hadn't fully engulfed. Now, the house she was found in had all the doors locked. There was a bent screen that might have alternately been on the lawn or in the window. Uh, but not only were all the doors locked, but so was Tara's door also locked. So first responders had to break the door down. They were able to see Tara. Now, I haven't watched the entire trial, but apparently through DNA technology available at the time, her boyfriend, Chris Melton's DNA was found both, well, inside her in the usual inside her place, also in her oral swab, I believe. Now, Mr. Faust's DNA was found several years ago through a cold case DNA match. Now, no other signs or no other links to Mr. Faust, be it fingerprints, any other evidence has ever put him at the scene. Now, there are certain laws in Georgia that prevent any sort of previous history of a sexual nature against SA victims to be brought in. So there were a lot of things that the jury did not hear in this case. There was also clear evidence that pointed toward her ex-boyfriend, and it doesn't seem like there was a good investigation done. Now, again, Mr. Faust was found guilty on all the charges, so he is being sentenced today. These are his witnesses at sentencing. After we've sat through 4 uh, witness statements from the family, it doesn't seem the time or place to maybe bring up this. Now, I do understand that a lot of people believe this has been a miscarriage of justice, and I'm not in disagreement, but I also don't know how this does anything to help Mr. Faust's case moving forward. With the type of crowdfunding and things that we're going to need for this, it's I think sometimes it's better to be quiet at certain times, and maybe be misjudged for your quietness than maybe saying words that might be misinterpreted, by outsiders. So, I don't know. That's just my 2 cents to it. I don't know that also, when you address the court saying, "Hey," calling the judge by her first name, there's just tonally, I don't know that this is helping him at all.
No, Your Honor.
You may call your next witness.
My name is Shonda Smith, and I would like to speak in reference to my cousin. I'm his first cousin, Edric Faust, and I would like to say, Your Honor, my name is Shonda Smith. I stand before you today on behalf of my cousin, Edric Faust. This is an incredible, difficult moment for our family. We are watching someone we love face sentences while firmly believing in our hearts that he is an innocent man and he has been wrongly convicted. Edric is more than what has been presented in this courtroom. He is a son, a father, a cousin, a brother, a man of faith who has always been a source of support in our family. This man, he knows he's kind, he's compassionate, and he's deeply valued by those who truly know him. As a family, as a family rooted faith, as our family rooted in faith, we believe in justice, but we also believe in mercy, grace, compassion, and the truth. God sees what we cannot see. God knows what we do not know. We humbly ask, as you determine the sentence, we consider his character, his strong support system that stands behind him. And I hope that this still remains in his future, if you could see his future as a loving, bright, intelligent man. Thank you for allowing me to speak. As I do love my cousin, I hope the Baker family finds justice because this is not it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything from the state, Mr. Yalamichili?
No, Your Honor.
Mr.
That
Cruz,
was
any other
much
witnesses?
better.
No,
Please
ma'am,
say
just
no.
discussion regarding sin.
All right.
One more, Your Honor.
Go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Tijuana DeBose.
Good afternoon.
I stand here today heartbroken, not just for Edric, but for the Baker family. I have witnessed this for the last couple of years, and it's very heartbreaking. I'm sorry what has happened, but I just ask that you guys just look at my cousin as not being a murderer, because he's not. I understand that something did happen, but he wasn't the one that did it. I understand the Baker family would like to have peace and justice for what has happened to their daughter, but at the same time, you have the wrong guy. If I wasn't here myself, if someone told me what happened, I would say this is not true. But I witnessed everything, and the things that I witnessed, I can say everything was wrong. Everything was done wrong here. I understand people had a job to do and they want to protect themselves and their job and their family. But at the same time, it's two families that did not get justice. Edric Faust family did not get justice, and the Baker family still don't have justice. So I just ask that God continue to step in, to guide us and lead us and direct us to the right person that did do this. But as you guys do what you have to do, you have the wrong guy. And I stand here today and I firmly agree on what I say. I'm the first cousin of Edric Faust. We grew up together. I knew him. I'm 48 years old. We're just a couple of years of difference. But I've been here and I know the things that Edric done. Our grandmother has been in our lives, and Edric is a good person, but I'm not going to say everything he has done in his life has been good, because everything I've done has not been good. But at the same time, I don't feel like you should get punished for something that you didn't do. So I just ask you guys to just do what you have to do, but at the same time, know that God has the last word. I love you.
Thank you. Anything, Mr. Yalamichili, from the state?
No, Your Honor.
Anything else, Mr. Cruz, in terms of witnesses?
No, ma'am.
All right. And anything else you'd like to tell the court with regard to counts 1 through 12, just
Yes,
as the
ma'am.
state did? Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Your Honor, I ask the honorable court to exercise its discretion. I understand in count 1, malice murder, the jury found Mr. Faust guilty of malice murder, and the honorable court, the only option the honorable court has is life with or life without parole. We would ask the honorable court to, in regards to count 1, for the lesser sentence, which is life, the lesser sentence, which is life with parole, in regards to count 1. Counts 2 through 5, those vacate as a matter of law. Count 6, our request is a 1-year sentence on the burglary, Your Honor. And as the honorable court is aware, and I stated before, our system is a system of laws, and we have to respect the jury's verdict. The reason I'm asking for 1 year on the burglary count, Your Honor, is based on evidence that the honorable court heard, which is the state providing to the jury that they couldn't show that Mr. Faust or how Mr. Faust got into the home. The honorable court could weigh the evidence in regards to the burglary charge. The honorable court is aware, and the honorable court can make a decision as to whether or not the evidence was overwhelming that Mr. Faust broke into Ms. Baker's home. So that's why we're asking for 1 year on the burglary count to be served concurrent. That's count 6. Count 7, in regards to aggravated sodomy, and that was the oral sodomy. The honorable court's discretion is only from 25 years to life. If the honorable court issues a sentence of 25 years, I believe the statute requires that the remaining portion, if I'm not mistaken, is remainder of probation for life, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm asking the honorable court in regards to the aggravated sodomy oral for the lesser sentence, in regards to the court's discretion, which is 25 years, I would ask that that sentence is concurrent to count 1. And if I didn't state it with count 6, I'm also asking the 1 year is concurrent to count 1. In regards to count 8, Your Honor, I believe count 8 and count 10 merge based on the language of the indictment. The language of the indictment provides that the basis for the rape in court's indulgence The indictment specifically alleges that Mr. Faust had carnal knowledge of Ms. Baker. However, when it comes to aggravated sodomy, which is count 10, which is the anal charge of aggravated sodomy, carnal knowledge includes anal sex. His sexual organ entering Ms. Baker's sexual organ. So we would say that count 8 and count 10 merges. In regards to count 10 merging into count 8, Your Honor, the Honorable Court's discretion is only 25 years to life, similar to count 7. We would ask the Honorable Court to exercise its discretion and sentence on the lower end, the 25 years with probation for life. We would ask that that is concurrent to count 1. In regards to count 9, aggravated assault, the Honorable Court is aware that the sentencing range is 1 year to 20 years. We would again ask for the lower end of that range, which is the no, please forgive me. Aggravated assault merges into count 1 by law. So please forgive me. Count 9 merges into count 1 by law. As I mentioned in count 10 merges into count 8. Count 11, arson, 1 through 20 years. We're asking that the Honorable Court exercise its discretion and sentence Mr. Faust to 1 year, concurrent with count 1. And in regards to count 12, I believe the statute does not give the Honorable Court discretion in regards to the sentence being consecutive. And I believe it's a 5-year consecutive sentence to count 1. So the total sentence that we're asking for is life with parole plus 5 years, which is the mandatory minimum that the Honorable Court could sentence Mr. Faust to. As a significant piece of the mitigation, as I mentioned, Your Honor, is that I hope the Honorable Court takes into account the evidence that came out in this case. I do believe when Mr. Faust was initially arrested, it caused an uproar in Athens because a lot of people assumed that, hey, we've got the right person. It's just based on this new technology that the GBI had. But once we came into the courtroom, Your Honor, the jury, the Honorable Court, and we respect the jury's verdict, I'm not relitigating that, but the Honorable Court, in regards to mitigation, heard significant evidence that was never stated before in regards to Mr. Melton's involvement in this case, in this crime, which was rejected by the jury, which I acknowledge. But the Honorable Court is also aware of the rulings that were adverse to the defense. And I'm sure the Honorable Court says, hey, it was 412, it was 412, it was 412. I respect the court's ruling. I disagreed on the record. But Your Honor, you could take everything that came into this case, all the information that came out in this courtroom, and you can make two choices. You can either say, hey, there were some questions in this case. By law, I'm required to sentence this way. I am going to use my discretion and sentence him to the lower end. It's still a life sentence, Your Honor. Or the Honorable Court could say, hey, I heard the information that came out in this case. I reject all of it, and I'm going to sentence him to what the state requested, which is the maximum sentence on everything. I am not from Athens. However, this case has caused a divide in Athens. Just like I witnessed, the Honorable Court had the opportunity to witness, this courtroom was split down. And I hate to even discuss it because it's a difficult topic to discuss, but the courtroom was split pretty much down racial lines. The Honorable Court made concerns and, had concerns and discussed social media with both counsel. I didn't look at social media until after a verdict was rendered in Mr. Faust's case. And the damage that this case has caused in the Athens community is mind-blowing. There's some people extremely upset. There's also some citizens that are extremely relieved.
I don't know that I would be bringing up the community. Again, this might be just me optically, because as much as he's saying he's not trying to relitigate it, he kind of is. So I get it. I really do. I really, really get it. Is this going to be effective here? I don't think so, which is why I would shy away from doing it. But maybe he knows the court system. Maybe he knows activism. Maybe he knows maybe he has a better bead on everything than I do from my, comfy chair in Indiana. So, like I said, I am not from the area.
But Your Honor, in your position, you have the power to send a message, whether that's I'm going to give Mr. Faust the absolute worst sentence he could get, or I'm going to take into account everything that came out in this trial, and I'm going to sentence him within the guidelines as required by law, but I am going to sentence him to the minimums, and that's what we would ask, Your Honor. And I thank you so much for your patience.
Thank you. Mr. Limoncelli, do you care to respond to the argument by counsel about merger of count 8 and count 10?
Yes, Your Honor. I mean, count 8 and count 10 do not merge. The carnal knowledge is defined in the rape statute as penetration of the vagina by the penis, and it doesn't merge with aggravated sodomy. I know I don't think any of the ranges that Mr. Cruz gave were based on statutes as they existed in 2001. I think he's going off the statutes as they exist currently. I think it's incumbent upon the state in our role in the process to point out that given that it's a murder from 2001 and no notice of intent to seek death was filed, it's not a death penalty case. Mr. Faust can't be sentenced to life without parole. I believe the maximum is life because the statute was changed subsequent to when the crime was committed in 2001. So I do want to point that to life range. Again, by our review of the statutes, that's not correct. On the rape, I believe it's 10 to 20 or life. And on the sodomy, I believe it is 10 to 30 or life. So I do just want to clear up those factors. I think that's a misstatement of the law. And I'm not going to respond to some of the other things that Mr. Cruz said. Obviously, the court knows what it ruled and didn't rule, but I don't think those are accurate statements of the way the proceedings were conducted.
Thank you. Anything further, Mr. Cruz, about the issue?
She's getting ready to do it. We had some pretty hard emotional testimony from the victim's family and some what I would label as not so helpful testimony from Mr. Faust's witnesses. Again, I think it was more a tonal and kind of, is this the time and place issue? So they are getting ready to talk about sentencing, and it does look like they are using statutes from 2001 because this was a murder that happened in 2001. So I did have a question about that.
Merger.
Sure. If I could have a second to look at the statement, the law, and it should take maybe a minute, 2 minutes at most to look at the law in regards to what statute applies at the time of sentencing or the time of.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Now, I believe that she's statutorily required to do life without or life with the possibility of parole, but whether the 2 life sentences that he has been charged with or is eligible for, if those are consecutive or concurrent. Now, I believe the state would like to make them consecutive to mean that he would have to spend or serve 1 life sentence and then serve the second life sentence before they could even go for parole. And in addition to that, the additional charges for the arson and the burglary and the sodomy and all the other things would then be concurrent to those 2 life sentences. So basically, he'd never, ever get out. Versus the defense asking if maybe he could get the lowest.
The state is correct. The statute at the time of sentencing. If I could have a second, Your Honor, to look at the statutes, I looked at the current law and applying the sentencing ranges. The Honorable Court would allow me to look at the statutes at the time in 2001, if that's okay.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Cruz. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to adjourn. I'm going to consider both parties' arguments to the court. That'll give you time, Mr. Cruz, to look at the statutes. I'll be back on the bench shortly. I do want everyone in the courtroom to know that the Sheriff's Department is in charge of the courtroom. And if they ask you to remain seated while they allow other persons to enter or exit, they are allowed to do that. I'd certainly ask for your cooperation. They are in charge, again, of the courtroom. I'm going to be adjourned for just a little while. I'll be back on the bench. And Mr. Cruz, if you have anything else you'd like to add with regard to looking at the statutes at that time, you may do so.
Yes, ma'am. Thank
All right, thank you.
All right, so let's see if we are. It doesn't look like she's back yet. Now, I don't know what she's going to do. It seems like the defense attorney may be correct that this has caused an even deeper divide along racial lines. Again, I would not be the person to talk to about that. And I guess I would, if you want to know more about, that, I would ask local creators uh, and that kind of thing. I do wonder what the judges. I doubt that it will be anything less than the max on everything. I don't think she'll deviate much from what the state has asked for. That being said, she might shock me. Uh, I guess I will say it is interesting to have the experience of watching uh, what seems to be two different trials, because some people that the DNA just sold them on the guilty, and you have other people like us who think that a lot of the yeah. And Denise, I maybe that's it. And, thank you, Tree90. I am not the most social person, ironically. So but yeah, she might be the one to talk to because she might have more insight on that. But I would imagine that there has to be a general feeling of either great happiness or great injustice, and I can't imagine what that does to a city. So I do hope that, you know, every everyone can get as much comfort as they can get, and welcome Squid Pro Quo raiders. We are getting close to the judge rendering her just or her oh, for what in the name of uh her judgment, sorry. I was like, it's a word, it starts with a J. So we are waiting for a sentencing uh the sentencing portion of this. Now both the state and the defense have gone on. Um This was a hard sentencing. You can tell that the family of Tara Baker, regardless of what you feel about the justice done in this case, have suffered mightily. 1 second. Have suffered mightily and greatly with the tragic and horrific loss of their daughter. And, taking away my feelings about this case and whether or not justice was done, that their pain was real and obvious, and my heart goes out to them. There was also Mr. Edric Faust had some witnesses too. I don't know if Mr. Cruz had actually talked to them prior. I think that uh, two of them did really well. I think the first two were not as respectful of the judge, and I get it. They don't like her. They feel that she has, not been a great judge. But in deference to the court, again, I get that they don't feel that the court has done a great job. But in deference to the court, maybe don't call the judge or, her name. Maybe just don't do that. And try to where you don't You don't have to wear your Sunday best, but try to wear things that are appropriate to court. I know it's probably not a big deal for most people. Maybe I'm just old-fashioned and, a fuddy-duddy, but for the love of Cheetos, wear appropriate clothing, address the court respectfully, keep in mind and maybe this is something that they're not thinking about right now, and I get it. This might be you're gonna need support, help, to keep the appeal talk alive and things like that, and I just don't know that maybe it was the time or the place to bring up those feelings, especially after the very heart-wrenching, victim impact statements, and I get it's not fair, it's a double standard that Edric's family, who is having an injustice done by a lot of people's standards, it isn't fair that his family can't speak out, but life is a chess game sometimes, and sometimes holding your tongue and being quiet doesn't mean that you're not fighting, just means you're being very strategic, and there's a time and a place to talk about this, but maybe not at sentencing. However, I think that Mr. Cruz did a really good job. He did a statement, and I think if he had had maybe more time to prepare or maybe more thoughts towards the appeal or things like this, I think that he maybe would have, talked to the witnesses prior to explain, explain to them maybe the tone that they want to strike, how they want to word things, because I think he did a very good job striking a balance between genuine respect and honoring, the Terrace family that were there, but also talking about the injustice and the things. So, yeah, and so maybe he's getting all of this on the record, but and maybe it's just my own personality that when I know I can't win something, I put my energy into figuring out how I can win. So I basically I was the sneaky child. I didn't ask my mom for things, but I would set things up to where like it would be her own idea. At least I thought I was very clever. I'm sure she saw right through my 9-year-old behind, but I would, like, clean up the kitchen and do all that stuff and then ask her to do something I wasn't really supposed to. Now, it only had, like, a 70-30 chance of working, but I thought I was a a manipulative, like, super evil genius. Mr. Mo's like, "Have they been sentencing all this time?" And I said, "Yeah, this has been one of the longer ones." And I think Nick might have fallen asleep for real. So I told him, I was like, "I don't wanna tell you what to do, and I'm not your boss, but the sentencing will be at 3." But, now I do know that, Nick has his, semi-tipsy or slightly buzzed, law show on Friday, and it looks like, uh well, so the judge had to go back to think about things. And I believe that oh, and thank you so much, Heidel or Heidi. Look, it's been a long day. We have a massive storm front coming in, and my body knows it. So, on a random kind of side tangent note, if you are anywhere in the Midwestular area or in the Indiana, surrounding area, your Ohio, your Illinois, your Kentucky, your Michigan, things like that. Um, do be mindful of the weather. Look, I'm not a meteorologist, but there's max velocity, there's Ryan Hall, and there's your local weather. Uh, do keep in mind that there are threats of potentialities for some pretty severe weather, also mixed with snow and I think like sharknadoes. So do be mindful. Oh, there you go. I should just do an overnight stream, as I pray that the internet and, uh, the weather stays on. Jeff Montgomery said, I'm up in New York State, and we're getting mixed messages depending on where you get the weather from 1 inch, to another says, "Expect a storm." Yeah, we're getting, like, batten down the hatches or snowcano. Like, I don't even know anymore. I just give up. My body's like, "Whatever it's doing, it just sucks." Oh, so I while we're waiting, I managed to bribe young Most Feral. I hopefully that video has gone, or no, I put it up yesterday because I didn't do a show. But, youngest Most Feral he's been testing the Jesus in all of us right now. I don't know if he's I love his little devious heart to pieces, but that child like, I have never seen ADHD to, like, Spinal Tap 13, but if you needed a documented picture of hyperactivity attention deficit disorder, it is my youngest Most Feral, only you couldn't take his picture because he squirmed. So, eh we are lucky to have a lovely school, so they've been keeping him after school so he'll do his homework because I so anyway, I told him that if he had a full 2 weeks where he did his homework for her and didn't complain, he could get the gingerbread, bunny. So, he is very Mr. Mo was like, "What in the world is that creepy bunny?" And I was like, "Look, honey, it's one of my weird things, but honestly, if it motivates him to do his homework, are you really that upset?" And he's like, "No, give him the creepy bunny thing if he does his homework." So, I kinda knew that they weren't going to be staying, solely mine. Which is okay, and honestly, if it gets him to do his homework without me having to become a harpy/warden, it is all good in the neighborhood. Also, I may have ordered 3 more, so, allegedly in Minecraft, you don't know that. Keep that between you, me, and the interwebs, but I have a full shelf that I need to put them on, so they were all, again, still on clearance, so I just figured, why not? I love my introvert bunny. Oh. Mr. Mo was like, "You're proud of yourself," and I was like, "Of course I am." He was like, "Do I dare ask you how much you spent?" I was like, "Not really, you shouldn't." But it's an introvert bunny. It has ink so I can write down all my thoughts and stay away from the people. And it's so soft, so nice. I wanna keep it hidden because I'm gonna be real with you guys. Things do not stay nice in my house, mostly because of, well, aforementioned youngest most feral and then the cats. And then sometimes the cats and youngest most feral team up together, and with their powers combined, you can be Oh, I forgot about Easter, except that yesterday was Ash Wednesday. Um, so these are from Plushy Dreadfuls. They have while we're waiting, I can just show you my latest, addiction because, why not? We're just waiting. Alright, let me move this over here so I can see the state seal. But this is my new addiction. Now, the real thing I like, not the is that they have health-related ones, and they actually have one for CRPS that they're supposed to be working on. So, of course, I wanted to get that, but they have, like, Ehlers-Danlos and different things that you normally don't have, like immunocompromised. Again, weirdo, like, not weirdo, but, like, chronic pain. So, just different things that sometimes if you wouldn't think that they'd have. Now they do have stuff that I didn't even know about, but they're really soft and fun, so so I thought they were really sweet and cute, and, I had some extra Christmas money that I was probably supposed to do something functional with as an adult, uh, but I decided to buy stuffed animals. I do have, money I'm saving for actual business stuff and things like that. So, you know, I do have once a quarter, I'll allow myself to get something that isn't at all, related to either, channel or, work supplies or things like that. So, I've been wanting one of these for, like, a year. So, I got them on sale-ish. This one was not on sale. Look, you saw the price, you know how much I spend on a stuffed animal. I I need, um look, I have no excuse other than I was left alone and on a high pain day. Uh, that being said, I think they're pretty cute. I think if you know someone who's going through maybe something and they're a little bit skewed, like they could be in our tribe, it's a thoughtful gift for maybe a sucky situation, especially if you have a chronic illness or something. Um, it's definitely it's been nice to, not have to bribe the cats by turning on my heater on my chair to get them to come over. The problem is I don't need any more things to collect. I do not need not one more thing to collect. Like, I need another collection like I need also, can I yell at Amazon for a moment now or FedEx? Now, y'all know I don't like talking on the phone, but my cat tree, our cat tree, the bougie cat tree that, I actually was saving for with my business money. So, like, one of the adult things I was getting, not adult like that, but so and oh my Bob Ross! Congratulations, Denise. I just found out my son is going to be a dad. Perfect gift for the new baby. Think mom and dad would approve. Absolutely. And so I will say with that, they have embroidered eyes. So there's nothing that's going to come off, which is for new babies, definitely a big plus. They don't have the button or anything eyes. Oh, yeah. Well, so there's need and want. What Mr. Mo and I are looking at is more setups that can be craft spaces because we have a single long arm setup. But if I get more, I'll be able to craft in different places, especially with the weather deciding to go, schizo. Uh, it's just been a thing. Oh, goodness gracious. Um, yeah, I didn't watch the Super Bowl. Goodness, what was I gonna say? I have but do be mindful of the weather in your locality because, apparently, like I said, um, I don't think I'd ever wanna try that, no matter how mad I got. I just feel like I'd end up somehow in a constant loop with Bill Murray, but not like funny Bill Murray, like angry old Bill Murray. So, I don't know. I just feel like eating groundhog stew would put me in line for that kind of punishment. Pretty much me too. My husband is like, "Do you need another collection?" I was like, He gets so annoyed. I'm like, "Look at this stuff. Isn't it neat? You'd almost think my collection's complete. Wouldn't you think that? But oh no, there's another thing to collect." He was like, "For the love of Cheetos, would you stop?" I was like, "Look at this stuff. Isn't it neat? But Amazon has more weird stuff to collect." They do. It Yeah, believe me, I should not be left alone on Amazon on my own looking for weird stuff because it is not a good thing. I have not won the lottery yet. I'm not saying there'd be signs if I won the lottery, but there'd be signs. "Oh, ma'am, how much are you thinking? And why'd you jump so much?" Maybe she is considering things. She is taking longer to deliberate than I thought she would, unless she's just a really slow typer. She's like, henpecking it. Wisdom, moderation, and justice with the Constitution. Georgia, the state named after the king we were trying to get away from. I don't know what that says about us, but there you go. That's like naming your, you know, you divorce a guy and then you name your kid that guy's name. I mean, interesting strategy. Do, 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 do. Garfield and Friends. Well, let's see if Prince Andrew is still in jail or whatever they call it in the UK. Interesting, and no. Well, there is scuttlebutt. Oh, he's been released. Was he at least tarred and feathered? I mean, I'm not saying send him over to America, but we tend to not be so nice to, well, never mind. Dang. Please tell me he at least got an ankle monitor. That would make my day for no good reason. But imagining him with an ankle monitor on for although, where is Fergie? Yeah, I must admit that my mom was more of a royal watcher than I was. In fact, the only I was a good kid, I was just, internally devious, and what I mean by that is that, unlike my brother, I learned that my mom liked to have the last word, so I simply didn't talk back, I just thought it. Like a kid who doesn't wanna be grounded all the time. But the first and only time I got in big trouble, well, no. Okay, the first time I got in big trouble as a teen, the first time I was sassy with my mother. Now, as y'all know, I have a hard time with emotions, and I have a hard time with complicated emotions. And I happen to have just turned 13, I think, when Princess Diana died. And my mom is sobbing, like hysterically, like sobbing. And I'm like, "Who died?" And she's like, "Princess Diana." And I'm like, "Did we know her?" And she looked at me and she's like, "Someone died." And I was like, "Yeah, but we didn't know him." And I was sent to my room so I could have more sympathy with others. And as you can tell from my career using sarcasm and dark humor, that worked. But she was much more into the royal family than I was. I didn't quite care at all. Although I will say, the Elton John song was good for, like, the one time when he did it, and then hearing it every 5 minutes after that, no. And then they made the Beanie Baby. Oh, for the love of Cheetos, she's back, thank goodness.
All right, counsel. Yes, sir. Did you want to say something?
Yes, ma'am. I had an opportunity to look at the law. We withdraw the merger. I did look at the law from 2001 in regards to aggravated sodomy and rape. We withdraw the merger from that count. Count one was correct. You have the option of life or life without parole. Count 6 is correct. It's still 1 through 20 years. But we would change our request to count 7. The minimum is 10 years, so we'd ask for 10 years. And that's in regards to the aggravated sodomy. Count 8, rape, is 10 to 20 or life. We would ask that the honorable court exercise its discretion and sentence Mr. Faust to the 10 years, and count 10 as well as the 10 through 30. We would ask the honorable court to exercise its discretion and sentence Mr. Faust to the 10 years. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, counsel. I'm actually going to give you both, all 3 of you, 15 minutes to do some homework. And here's why. The state has asked the court to sentence this defendant to the maximums, and the defense has asked the court not to do that. And of course, the 2001 law is not something that is readily accessible and readily available, and it is a little bit different than the law now. The question I have for both counsel is, pursuant to the rape statute and also to 1710 6.1, what your position is on whether the rape charge carries the possibility of life without the possibility of parole. I'm doing some research based on the state's request and the defense's request as to whether in 2001 that was a possibility. 1710 6.1 is the violent felony, the statute that applies to violent felonies. And I think there is an understanding among cases that happened back then that the count of rape could carry with it the possibility of life without the possibility of parole. I'm going to ask the 3 of you to look at that. I'll give you 15 minutes. I'm going to go finish my research. I'm asking you to do that because both parties have asked for opposite ends of the sentencing structure. State has asked for the maximum, which they are contending is life on that charge, on the rape charge. The defense is asking, of course, for that not.
So it seems like the defense was asking for the lowest. There were minimums in 2001. This case is a little bit different in the sentencing because they are having to use statutes from 2001, nearly 25 years ago. So she is trying to suss out whether there can be certain, things gone on. So, but you would think that these would be things that she would have researched if she knew that sentencing was going to be this soon. On the off chance that he got convicted, you think that she would have already been researching this. I mean, again, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know. Maybe this isn't something you research until he's actually convicted. I don't know. I think the defendant or the defense knows that there are some statutory mandatories that they're dealing with. So I think that they're making a valiant case, but whether or not this judge will be receptive to it is not so likely.
not to be considered. And so because of that, I'm going to ask you all to look at that. Yes, sir. Anything before I leave the bench? All right, I'll be back in 15 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, so if you're located in Illinois, there's some pretty strong storms going on. All right. All right. Since we have to wait for them to do law stuff, we are going to watch Max Velocity because I'm a nerd.
Not a risk of severe weather today.
But not for long because he's actually like a real meteorologist guy, doing the Lord's work and math, and I'm just me.
Let's go back to.
And I don't want to get a copyright
Underneath it,
strike.
Not really seeing a whole lot. Still some spin. It's like a lot of people are going through trees right now to see this.
The rotation's very tight back on our storm. It's right on top of us, right in front of us, actually. Small hail, guys.
Right there in the middle of your screen. I know there's some water droplets on the camera, but right there in the middle of your screen, CJ is saying that it is rapidly rotating. Actually, look at this. This is tornado from AG's view. Got a wet window.
Hold on, friends. I need to set this down a second.
All right, we'll go back to them in a second. Once again, we have two tornado warnings, both in eastern Illinois. The one that is further north is likely recycling. If you are in Casey and Greenup, you still need to be in your safe place, away from windows and on the lowest floor possible. We got very strong winds at the minimum that are surging into those locations. The tornado warning here just to the north of Newton, Illinois is still the most concerning storm in my opinion right now. It is not really fighting with any sort of storm mergers or any sort of cool air or anything like
All
that
right.
now. It's
I don't
become
want to
a lot more
take his
discreet.
entire stream, but do keep an eye on if you are in other localities because, it is, an odd time to have, well, tornadoes and all sorts of craziness and snow and puppies and kittens and all the rest of it. You are welcome. Yeah, that'll be coming on later my end. So probably in about 2 or 3 hours, that'll be over near my neck of the woods. So it's a good thing that we got those dead trees cut down since we've got trees very near the house and we noticed that some were dead. So it's a good thing that we got those done, kind of at an odd time, like in January, for, cutting down trees. But looks like we did the right thing. I have never seen a judge ask for the lawyers on both sides to do research, but again, it seems like no one was prepared for him to be convicted other than maybe the state, because the state seems to have realized that they were using the older statutes. And I will commend this judge on at least respecting her job enough to fully research the other statutes and invite the other attorneys to do the research as well when she was unsure or looking at. I will commend her on doing that. There's not been a lot that I've agreed with her on, just the small sliver of the trial that I've been able to see so far. But I do commend her for taking her time to research statutes now when she is, and asking for collaboration when she hasn't seemed too open to, the defense's interpretations of things. Okay. Oh, I was like, "Are they back?" I am Oh, so I was, ranting about Amazon. So the cool cat tree, the bougie cat tree, for some reason, Amazon or the company that makes the cat tree put the wrong address on it. So I'm watching it with the little app thing, on Amazon, and it's like, "Oh, it gets to, a FedEx very near to your house." And then it said it's unable to be delivered. So I called the FedEx because I go to Amazon and I see unable to be delivered, and they say call the carrier. So I call FedEx and they say, okay, well, can we have your address? And my correct address is in the Amazon thing. And they're like, "Oh, well, we have that ticket, we have your name, but it's not the address it's not the correct address." So I was like, "Okay, well then can you just hold it there and I'll pick it up tomorrow or something?" And they said, "No, you have to call Amazon and have them change the address and then we'll ship it to you. We will drive it to your house." So I was like, "Okay." So I call Amazon and they said, "Oh, well, we'll have to send an email to to the seller because this isn't from one of our warehouses, so we'll have to intervene with them." And I'm like, "Oh, for the love of unholy Cheetos." So, yes, the cat tree is very near to my house, but it is being held hostage by Amazon and the original company who failed to get my address right despite Amazon giving them the correct address. Yeah. So the odyssey of almost homeward bound, the cat tree journey, continues. But all in all, not a terrible day. Got to hang out with you guys, but still, I don't want to interact with not only 1, but 2 customer service. No, they wouldn't tell me what the address on it was, but they just said that my correct address is incorrect, which makes no sense. But there you go. Gonna refresh this because sometimes we seem to lose time. Interesting. I have noticed Law and Crime is more negative, with the defense attorney. Now, we do know that Law and Crime, has been or usually generally is more state, focused, more state advocate, kinda that kind of thing. But I have seen there be more dissent in Law and Crime than I'm generally used to seeing, which is interesting. Generally, Law and Crime, you don't have a very noticeable split, uh, and we typically have a more noticeable split for the defense on our channels like Baker, mine, Nick's. So, I get that you're going to have, kind of those bubbles, those deviations. But I will say that this particular case and especially the Uvalde case were the first times that I've seen Law and Crime really be pro-defense, to any kind of significant measure, which I thought was interesting. And again, there might be that this is a jury from Athens, Georgia, and this was maybe a case that was just very, very all over the place. It was very big. Being a college town, I can imagine that a lot of parents probably had nightmares about this, even if their children weren't going to school. But yeah, you would have definitely thought that this would have been something that would have been hammered out prior to, especially with this being a cold case and somewhat the first cold case with the Coleman Baker Act. You would think that they would have had this hammered out so it wouldn't look clunky. Oh, I keep seeing someone walk by and I'm like, "Oh." I was like, "Oh, maybe they're, you would think that they would have had this figured out. I keep seeing someone walk by and I'm like, "Oh, they're coming. They're coming." Probably, probably. Hopefully, I don't have to do, the ship it back to us, and then we'll ship it back to you and that rigmarole, but it's also, of all the things in life to complain about, I have a warm, dry home, and I get to hang out with you guys, so, it's not bad at all. Now, I will say, depending on and I will try to let you guys know, but like I said, we have a line of pretty bad storms that are looking to hit, um, into the evening, so I will try to give you guys a heads up if there will not be mornings with Mo or the weekly roundup with Shizzy. Hopefully, we've got it, we've got it, but, yeah, it's who is do what now? Oh, I love it when I'm like, "Oh, there's a something." Yes, my phone is charging right now. That's what I'm doing actually as we speak. Oh, okay. Oh,
Hours, but that's really not the main event here. Main event is over here in Eastern Illinois, and it will eventually track that direction. Latest
Ooh.
couple of radar scans have come in. We still have a broad area of rotation on both of our tornado warnings, one near KC, the other one is near Yale. Further down to the south, this is a severe thunderstorm warning for Oblong and Robinson. We got a little hook now that is starting to form, a little tail, basically, here on the backside of the supercell, just northeast of Olney. We still have a strong inflow. We got one lightning strike here on this storm. There's not been much lightning today. But we
Interesting.
got our first really lightning strike on this southern storm, so it might be trying to intensify here as we get more into the 4 o'clock hour. There you go back to CJ Ziegler. So here's
look at that northern rotation though.
this is a view again.
It's not much the selectivity is
of our
horrible.
southern tornado warning
Also,
for
we all
Yale,
ran that
Illinois.
flight too, so.
Well, the super chat asking about the tornadoes for Flora, Illinois.
Wales Mountain.
The main tornado risk will be all here, bottom right of your screen, in this general area. It's going to be this general area. It's basically counties that are bordering Indiana. There's still a low chance of maybe something a little bit further back to the west.
All of the inflow or all the
Oh, great. Well, if I go off screen suddenly.
or wait. Or is that the cold air coming down and being outflow down again?
Like a storm chaser Ryan Scholl. Scholl is now punching up to the north on this road, bottom right of your screen. He's basically punching up into the core of the storm. So he's going to be very close to the wall cloud here in a moment.
Yeah, here's our
The storm's out of wall cloud for about an hour and 15
It was
minutes.
some crazy structure for sure. Pretty much it though.
Right before we went live.
All right. Don't want to take all as feed because you've got. Look, as long as youngest most feral never knows that storm chasing is actually a thing that one can do as a life choice and or job, I y'all, I need to be able to sleep without copious amounts of Valium, and if youngest most feral learns that storm chasing is an option, I will never sleep. He'll be a meteorologist, but he'll have created, like, a new oh gosh, what is it? Dementinator or oh, for the love of Cheetos. We are getting some rain. Which is, good. But nothing crazy. Of course, then Twister came out and everyone wanted to be a storm chaser. Of course, it was like one of the few movies where Bill Paxton lived. And then they made Twisters. And that movie should be forgotten. True point. True point. Okay, you guys, you should have done this research before. That's a good one to have as an earworm. I like that song. Well, it wasn't good. It was awful. Although, the male storm chaser, he was handsome. And they got, like, him in a white T-shirt getting rained on, which I think was integral to whatever plot that Twisters had. And whoever that actor is cute, but I don't remember his name. I am not my mother. But it was such a dumb premise. So you have, like, the storm chaser in cahoots with the insurance company. So why do you think the judge told them to go do some homework in the middle of her sentencing? Well, I think she's going to allow them to make arguments both for and against, um, new sentencing based on her further research of sentencing statutes, because I believe one of the crimes in 1991 may have made him eligible for life without the possibility of parole, if there were certain aggravators. So I think she is allowing both attorneys or both sides to make arguments both for and against her, uh, using that as maybe an option to get him to life without parole. Yeah, they've not been great. Most of the original stuff has been awful too. But what are you gonna do? That's why YouTube was invented. But now Hollywood wants to take over YouTube because they've destroyed Hollywood. And no, we are already full of our own weirdos. You broke your own. This is our playground. You broke yours. Fair point. Yeah, I will say some of the sequels have been really odd. It's just like, what are you did you even watch the original? And then you have He-Man, Masters or Master of the Universe, the live action movie coming out. I don't know about that one. Pretty much. Although Matt Matt Stone and Trey Parker, if you ever decide to get over, whatever is afflicting you currently, and you wanted to make another Team America World Police, again, whenever you have detoxed from whatever is going on with you in the last couple seasons, I would love you to make another Team America World Police. I thought it was the most hysterical comedy, and I loved it. And if you could just get back to doing things like that, that would be awesome. Also, Mike Judge, if you could possibly tell King of the Hill to rein it in a little bit with their new stuff, you know, because yeah. It's Person and the Socially Conscious Warriors of Portland Coffee Shop, pretty much. I have seen Jury Duty. I haven't seen it in a long, long time, but I was a big fan of Pauly Shore. He was my favorite the Son-in-Law. If you haven't seen it from the '90s, one of my favorite movies, In the Army Now, hilarious, and Jury Duty. Yeah. Oh, and Biodome and Encino Man, Brendan Fraser. Anywho. And then Brendan Fraser in George of the Jungle. Need I say more? The '90s truly were a beautiful time. Oh, for the love of God, please figure something out, you guys. It does seem odd that they didn't have this kind of figured out as in anticipation of this. You can't convince me that the state didn't think that they had a slam dunk case. So you would think that the judge would have this on her radar. Jeffrey Montgomery, I wonder if they thought modern sentencing requirements were good, and only after someone questioned changes did they go, "Oh, oops, yeah, that might be a thing." Yeah, Mustang. I'm glad that Brendan Fraser made a comeback. I can't wait to see I didn't see his new one. I'm glad he's back, but that one had no I was not interested in it whatsoever at all. So I am looking forward to him remaking something that I really, really wanna watch. So, no offense to you, Mr. Fraser, I'm sure Whale was a great movie. It just family drama llama stuff, I have to be in a certain mood for. I will have to look at that. Okay.
Please.
Where's the camera guy? Well, wait a minute. Oh, I'm a dingleberry. I'm sorry, you guys. I was looking at the wrong screen. Like I said, eventually I will be a professional. So I was able to hear uh, her come back. So I am sorry, you guys. My brain is. I was trying to answer several different questions about dinner. So I am sorry. I apologize.
With regard to my comments about
We will go forward to her sentencing. As I said again.
from you.
Nothing further from the state, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Cruz, anything else, sir?
No, ma'am. We'll just note for our record
In their discovery, which was filed with the court, was from April the 2nd of 2025. It was entitled the state's notice and recidivism notice and discovery.
So basically, what you guys missed was the judge stated that while she did read the statute, since the state wasn't asking for life without the possibility of parole, or basically the life without the possibility of parole for the rape charge at the time in 2001 would have been in conjunction with a death penalty. Yeah, me too, probably sometimes making law simple, although you didn't just listen to half the sentencing without inviting your stream in to watch it. So, you know, it swings and roundabouts.
Of 2025, the notice that the state is relying on now, that the defense has responded to, of course, the 3 felonies that they have enumerated in their notice is from October 2nd of 2025. And so anything further, Mr. Cruz, you'd like to say about that? All right.
No, ma'am.
All right. Thank you. All right. Very good. All right.
Record clear. So from October 2nd, 2025 is aggravated assault, BGCSA, 2 counts of violation of Georgia Controlled Substance Act offenses. Looking at the recidivism statute, I'm just saying these are the offenses that we have notice of. The state has asked the court to take to consider other offenses that there was no notice given. The state's argument when we brought this up initially was that, hey, in discovery, we just filed a general notice and whatever could be used as for purposes of recidivism.
Actually, MLS, that is a good question. Is the state allowed to bring in everything or anything, or does it have to be within statute? Is that something that is also controlled by statute? And then if so, does the state have to notice the defense, like the defense is claiming, of what they plan to use should it come to sentencing?
Our argument, it does not. It has to be specific. So we are on notice of these 3 specifics.
Thank you. All right. So I just want to respond to that very briefly. The law allows the state to provide notice in the manner in which it did. From April the 2nd of 2025, their general notice in their discovery that they filed with the court, and of course, the actual notice that they provided the defense on October the 2nd. I will say, however, that the court is going to take into account in sentencing Mr. Faust the notice that was filed October 2nd that the defense has no objection to, and that is the one that I will certainly take into account in sentencing. With regard to this case and sentencing and taking into account the notice that was filed on October 2nd of 2025, the state's argument about sentencing and the defense's argument about sentencing, the court finds as follows. Mr. Faust, please stand. This court finds, based upon the evidence presented at trial and the jury's verdict, that a sentence involving rehabilitation is not appropriate in this case. And I'm going to sentence you, Mr. Faust, as follows. With regard to count 1, life. Counts 2 through 5 are what we call in the legal world vacated. That means no sentence, and that is imposed as a matter of law. Those are the felony murder counts. With regard to count 6, which is the burglary charge, 20 years consecutive to counts 8 and 10, which I will get to in a moment. With regard to count 7, which is the first aggravated sodomy charge, 30 years, and 20 years is 20 years confinement. Count 7 is 30 years in confinement. That is concurrent with count 1. Count 8, the rape charge, is life. That is consecutive to count 1, which is the other life sentence. With regard to count 9, the court agrees that count 9 does merge with count 1 as a matter of law, and that's the aggravated assault charge. With regard to count 10, which is the other aggravated sodomy charge, the court imposes 30 years in confinement. That is consecutive to count 1 and 7. That is also concurrent with count 8. Count 11, which is the arson and the first degree charge, the court imposes 20 years of confinement consecutive to count 6. And count 12, which is possession of a knife during the commission of a felony, the court imposes 5 years in confinement. That is consecutive to count 11. The order of the court are 2 consecutive life sentences to be imposed, plus an additional 45 years to be served in confinement. That'll be the order of the court. You are in custody. Thank you. Court is adjourned. And everyone, please remain seated until the Sheriff's Department determines who can leave and when they can leave. Thank you very much for your cooperation.
I believe he had a plea deal at the beginning of this, but he took it to trial, so it's basically life in prison without the possibility of parole with the consecutive life sentences. So that means once he's done with the life sentence, he will have to then serve the totality of the other life sentence. Then he will have to serve the 45 years. So you guys, I think I am going to end here. The plea wasn't good. Okay, tree T, for the love of goodness. Tree 9T, sorry. Yes. Heather May, I will look that up tomorrow. I do need to get off of here just to get ready for the storms coming to my neck of the woods to make sure that, we've got all the candles and things. Should we not be able to stream, I will try to get a message out to you. If you don't see something up by 8, just assume that we've lost power, but I will try to get something out to you guys. Hopefully yes, I see. I know you have waited semi-patiently. No, thank you. Sorry. Thank you guys. I will see you guys tomorrow hopefully for weekly wrap up with Shizzy. We've got songs, we've got the absurd, we've got a palate cleanser for the end of this long week, and then we might do some cop reaction videos tomorrow just to have a little bit of fun. Hopefully we get out of the storm and it is great. That being said, stay safe, stay good to yourself, and do remember to share this trial. I know Nick's been covering it a lot. Share his streams with people. Share this trial, this story with people. Yes, you don't get that fully until you don't get that fully until you do your homework for 2 weeks. Sorry. Anywho, share this case out there, eyes and shining a light on this case, getting more eyes to it. The more people that know about this, the bigger the voices, and you know, justice and injustice can't live in bright sunlight. So try to share it out and, keep safe, everyone. I am going to go take care of youngest, most feral because he is desperate for attention by you guys.